1976, the year many South Africans associate with the start of visible public internal resistance to apartheid, sparked by the student protests in Soweto. The use of live ammunition by the police to quell protests brought tremendous international pressure to bear on the government. It was much harder after that for countries like Britain and the United States to justify doing business with South Africa. At the same time, there was increasing military pressure in Angola with the build-up of Soviet and Cuban forces. In early 1981, the Minister of Defence, Magnus Malan, met with the Chief of the South African Defence Force, General Constant Viljoen. They were convinced that there was a strong chance that Soviet-backed forces in Angola had access to chemical weapons and would use them. They decided to find a solution to the problem. A young military doctor, Wouter Basson, was ordered to travel abroad to covertly collect information about chemical and biological warfare programs. Basson was to use this information to create a blueprint for a South African program. Towards the end of that year, the Minister of Defence officially approved the establishment of Project Coast. By this time, South Africa was already heavily invested in developing nuclear weapons. The Chief of the Defence Force said there were reasons for the establishment of Coast. The need for crowd control measures to prevent a recurrence of the deaths caused by the police during the Soweto protests, and the need to address the threat of chemical weapons use in Angola. Jean de Villiers of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research looked into the feasibility of developing a CBW program. He concluded that while chemical weapons, and particularly herbicides, may be useful, biological weapons were too risky. Vernon Joint was asked to head Project Coast, but said no because he didn't want to have to keep secrets about his work from his wife. Instead, Wouter Basson would head the project. Between 1981 and 1992, Basson and his close associates established a complex network of companies across the world to procure materials and substances, move money, and facilitate a 007 lifestyle. Front companies were used to hide what was being done as commercial activities. Not all those recruited to work for the front companies knew they were working for the military. At Roodeplaat Research Laboratories, animal experiments and other tests to determine the lethality and detectability of poisons were carried out. Another company, Delta G Scientific, produced new forms of tear gas, ecstasy, and mandrakes, also known as quaaludes. Some of the poisoned items made their way into the hands of the military and police. By this time, Rhodesian security forces had already been using poisons since the late 1970s. One official document, dated 24 June 1977, records 809 deaths resulting from poisoned items, including beer and clothing distributed by the Cellhouse Scouts. The South African program was kept secret until 1997, when Wouter Basson was arrested. By then, scientists had started breaking ranks, frustrated by the nepotism in the lucrative deals in which the front companies were sold back to the state. Betrayal figured as a strong theme in both who was targeted by Project Coast and how it was revealed. In 1998, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission held a hearing into Project Coast. At first, the South African government, at the highest level, tried to convince the TRC not to go ahead with the public hearings, fearing that the information would undermine South Africa's international treaty commitments. But the hearing went ahead. Soon after the end of the Truth Commission, Basson went on trial. He faced more than 54 charges that ranged from possession of drugs to conspiracy to murder and fraud. None of the charges stuck. And on the 11th of April 2002, Judge Willie Hartzenberg cleared Basson on all charges. Several years later, the Health Professions Council of South Africa started a disciplinary process against Basson. In December 2013, he was found guilty of unethical conduct. But by late 2016, sentence had yet to be passed. This brief history of Project Coast is only one possible narrative of the many that can be told. We encourage you to consider what is relevant to this past and why it is still relevant today.